Welcome to those of you who are watching and also to our candidates. Good evening. My name is Sarah Ellyn, and I am co-president of the League of Women Voters of Glen, Ellyn. On behalf of the local leagues that are hosting tonight's forum, I want to thank you for joining us for this DuPage County Board District 4 Republican Candidate Forum. This year, all DuPage County seats are open for election, and District 4 has 3 open seats. District 4 voters will have an opportunity to vote for 3 candidates who will then represent them on the DuPage County Board. The format tonight is virtual. We ask that the candidates, as well as the viewers, eliminate all distractions, just as you would if you were at an in-person event. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization. We encourage the informed and an active participation of citizens in government. The League works to increase understanding of major public policy issues through both education and advocacy. Our moderator this evening is Barbara Young. She is a member of the League of Women Voters of the LaGrange area. She is a practitioner in the law firm of Glen, Christie, and Taglia. She practices in the areas of business law, bankruptcy, and commercial litigation. Barbara is also actively involved in many women's rights organizations. Welcome, Barbara, and thank you so very much for moderating tonight's forum.
Thank you very much, and good evening. It's an honor for me to be moderating tonight's candidates forum of the Republican candidates on the ballot. All of the Republican candidates were invited to participate, and hopefully all 4 will be joining us this evening. I would like to begin by reviewing some of the League's ground rules for candidate forums. All candidates attending tonight have signed and returned the ground rules. These rules specify the format, time limits, and other rules related to the conduct of the forum. I will be responsible for enforcing these rules. The candidates will begin in alphabetical order with their opening statements. They will alternate the order in which they answer questions. And after the question portion of the forum, each candidate will give a closing statement. Each candidate will be given 1 minute for their opening statement, 1 minute to respond to the questions, and 1 minute for their closing statement. Their responses will be timed, as you will see on the screen. The questions have been gathered in advance from the public. A panel of experienced members of the League of Women Voters has reviewed the questions submitted and carefully screened the questions for both appropriateness and to avoid duplication. The format tonight is a candidate forum, not a debate. Candidates are expected to accurately represent the facts. The League of Women Voters is not responsible for the accuracy of the statements made by the candidates. It is the responsibility of the public, news media, opposing candidates, etc., to fact check statements made by candidates if deemed necessary. This forum is held as a service to the voters, so they can hear directly from the candidates regarding views on key issues and qualifications. To be a best service to the voters, candidates' responses are to reflect their own views and opinions and refrain from commenting on the views of other candidates. The event tonight is being recorded. The League claims copyright ownership of any recording or transcript produced of the forum. The forum will be posted in its entirety on the host League's websites, social media platforms, and the Illinois Voter Guide. Any other use of the forum recording requires the express written approval of the League. Audio and video must be broadcast unedited and in its entirety, except by media reporting on the event. Finally, I want to emphasize how grateful we are for these candidates who are not only willing to serve in office, but who have agreed to come here this evening. At this time, I would ask the candidates to turn on your video and unmute your audio. And we'll begin with the opening statements. Our first candidate is Annette Corrigan. And a reminder, you have 1 minute for your opening statement.
Great, thank you so much for having me. My name's Annette Corrigan. I'm a 30-year resident of DuPage County. I've been married to my husband for 29 years, and we raised all 4 children in Wheaton. I have been very active in my community the entire time I've been here, serving on a variety of boards, involved in Boy Scouts, involved in all my children's schools, as coaches, as room parents, school board president. I'm a practicing attorney. I obtained my degree from Marquette University, my undergraduate and my law degree from Marquette University. I was in trial practice for many years before taking a break to be home with my children. I am now practicing in the area of family law and any and all issues that involve children and families at this point in time. I think I'd make a great member of the DuPage County Board because I've served on so many different boards in the past, and I also bring my legal experience and practice to that role. I first started with the Big Brothers Big Sisters Board. I am a College of DuPage board member. I was elected in 2019, and I've gained a lot of
I must say thank you
in that role.
And I appreciate that. Okay, and now the second opening statement will be from Grant Eckhoff. Mr. Eckhoff.
Hi, my name is Grant Eckhoff, and during the time that I've been on the Wheaton City Council and now on the county board, I've worked to deliver essential governmental services at the lowest possible tax rate. I've lived in Wheaton since 1965. I went to Franklin Junior High, Lowell Grade School, and Wheaton Central High School, and then went on to Michigan State University and graduated from James Madison College there. And then went on to Chicago Kent College of Law and obtained my law degree in 1985 with honors. I started I got married in 1994 and started my own law firm in 1996, and have been working in Wheaton ever since that time. So I've tried to be a good public servant by maintaining a low tax rate, by being very sensitive to taxes, but also making sure that the services that we need provided to our residents are given to us and that they're good services.
Thank you. And our third candidate this evening, Reed Fultonevich.
Yes, perfect. Hi, I'm Reed Fultonevich, and I'm running for DuPage County Board in District 4 in this upcoming Republican primary, which is June 28th. I'm an administrative sergeant with the Oak Brook Police Department. I've been doing that the last 16 years. And I also served as a trustee for the Village of Lombard for 8 years. And 6 of those years, I was honored and privileged to serve as chairman of the Finance and Administration Committee. I have a wife, Rachel. She's a teacher at St. John's Lutheran. Our oldest son, Reed Finley, is in 5th grade at Manor Hill. We have our youngest Ryder is in 3rd grade at Manor Hill. And we're also hosting a foreign exchange student, Maddie Biondo. And I have to do it with some emphasis. She always makes fun of me. It's not excited enough, but she's from a small town outside of Venice, Italy, and she's a senior at Montini Catholic. Thank you.
Okay, and there is a fourth candidate, but they're not with us this evening, and that's Paula McGowan. Now we're going to move into our question and answer phase, and we're going to begin with candidate Eckhoff. And here's the first question. Please share the personality traits and professional skills that you will contribute to the county board's ability to work as a cohesive and productive governmental unit.
Well, I think I've playing these skills for the 20 years I've been on the city council or the county board, and the 14 years I was on the Wheaton City Council. But one of the most important things is to listen, both to the residents and to the other people you're working with, because you don't always have all the right ideas, and sometimes you need to listen to other people and change your positions. Second thing is to work hard, have a good, strong work ethic, so that you do your homework, you read what the papers are that you're being given, so that you can engage and be prepared to ask good questions to staff and make good decisions. And then the third thing is you got to work well with others, regardless of whether they're Republicans or Democrats. Listen to them and try and get along, and believe that everyone's working in good faith to solve the problems of the county.
Thank you. Candidate Fultonevich, what do you bring to the job?
Yeah, so when it comes to skill, I'll work with skill. I'd say it's communication, because I'm willing to work with anyone who's willing to put politics aside and do what's best for the families of DuPage County. As I did with the village board, I worked with everyone on all sides, because local government, all these things, it's not really Republican or Democratic issues. It's just local government with local issues. As any relationship in life, communication is key. So I think that's the most important skill to really have. When it comes to a trait, I would probably go with enthusiasm. I love life. I love the career I do. I love local government. Meeting all these new people, including, the two people I got to meet, Annette and Grant, have been excellent. And it's just been a wonderful process. So I'm going to bring enthusiasm and excitement to the board. Thank you.
Great. All right, candidate Corrigan.
Yes, I think one of the number one skills I have that I'm bringing is I have a collaborative nature and a positive attitude most of the time. I really believe in relationship building. You can be the best problem solver there is when an issue is presented. But if you, if you don't really dig in and really explore and bring all your research and your doggedness to the table, and on top of that, be able to work with other people in that role, you're not going to accomplish anything, especially on a board with as many people that would be on the county board. I get along well with people, and I'm obviously my professional skill set would be the legal experience I have. And there's a lot of contracts and a lot of employment issues that go along with a role on the county board. And I think that would be a skill set that I would bring to the role.
Thank you. Okay, and our next question, we're going to begin with candidate Fultonevich. How would you guard against partisanship adversely impacting the public's confidence in the county board and represent the best of governance and respectful collaboration in your role as a county board member?
Yeah, this one's pretty quick and really simple. Unfortunately, the past 2 to 4 years, we've seen quite a bit of division on the board, and it starts with day one. If I get the honor of being elected, I want to meet with every single person I'm going to work with. It doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent. I want to meet with everyone and build a relationship. It really has to start before we get down to issues. We have to build a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, candidate Corrigan. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, real quick, clearly that hasn't been done because as we've all seen on the county board meetings, those have gotten messy the past couple of years, unfortunately.
Okay, candidate Corrigan, your thoughts on putting partisanship aside?
I don't want to steal what Reed said. It's absolutely true. Relationship building is the number one key to not making it a battle, right? And I've done that on the College of DuPage board. There are a couple people, we are completely polar opposites in our political views, but we have gotten to know each other very well. And it's difficult to argue or be unkind or to not be reasonable when you know somebody and you understand where they're coming from. And so relationship building is the number one way I would start in making sure that it doesn't become partisan and have some of the issues that have occurred in the last few years on the board, because we need to work together. It's not a one-man show. It's a board that comes together and brings all their skills together and their opinions and perspectives to come up with the best position, the best decision for our residents.
Okay, and candidate Eckhoff, your thoughts on this?
Well, there's really, if you're working your best for the county, there's no real spot for partisanship, and there shouldn't be partisan type of votes. What we've tried to do on the board is from day one in 2018, when a large number of Democrats were elected, is to go out of our way to, make them feel comfortable and to introduce ourselves to them and try and work with them. And many of them do. And I think, there's lots of times we just go back and have a cup of coffee as opposed to being on the board floor and talk to them about doing other things other than being a county board member, like going to a Cubs game or going up to Wisconsin. But I'll give you an example. Last Saturday, I was at the NAMI annual dinner, and Reed was there, and that's on the board. And there were I was sitting with Sheila Rutledge and Lynn LaPlante, and we all got along, and I'm sure they talked to Reed and they've talked to Annette before, and we go out of our way to do things together that just and act like people. And hopefully then we will trust what each other say about the issues.
Okay, thank you. And now we're going to go to a candidate Corrigan. It's a little bit long question, so bear with me. The federal government defines housing as affordable when rent plus utilities are no more than 30% of the occupant's monthly income. In DuPage County, about 30% of households pay more than this toward housing. What role should the county play in addressing the discrepancy between the needs for affordable housing and the current supply?
So I think everybody realizes that there is an affordable housing supply issue in DuPage County. When I was thinking about this topic, I researched to see what was in place already. I didn't see that there was any task force or committee on the county board. And what came to mind to me that was maybe we would start a task force, and that we'd bring together and we'd look at what already has been done, like, and there was an affordable housing strategy plan in 2016 that was done and supported by CMAP and funded by CMAP. And we wouldn't start from the beginning. We have something we can already work with. And from there, the task force would do their research, get on top of the issue and the data that's already out there. And then from there, we would outreach to like the municipalities and talk with them and see where their needs are in the individual municipalities. I also would consider and would have the task force look at private public partnerships to address the issue. The idea is that the task force would sort of oversee and spearhead a direction on this issue of affordable housing supply.
Okay, thank you. And candidate Eckhoff, what's your thoughts on affordable housing?
Affordable housing's been addressed by different people at different times. Back in the 80s, there's a person by the name of Bob Christ who formed a committee. And I'm sure if Tom and Jan Kay are watching and Mr. Westlake are watching, they'll remember him, but not too many people were. And we tried to address that by bringing government officials together, because it's a situation where there's too many people looking for the same house and there's not enough houses. So one thing that government can do is reduce the price of housing by maybe reducing the regulations, reducing the lot size of lots and things like that. But the first thing you're going to run into as an elected official is nobody wants those smaller size lots in their neighborhood. So you run into a lot of NIMBYism. So you got to be prepared for that. So I think the county's only got 10% of the property in DuPage County. Most of it's municipal. So you got to look at the municipalities to get involved. But you really got to look at tracts of land that you can rezone, make smaller so the cost of the housing is less, and make it more affordable for people.
Okay, thank you. And candidate Fultonevich, your thoughts on this?
Yes, the county has made some strides making it more affordable, but definitely more needs to be done. We need to create affordable housing options for disabled residents. And the real solution to doing this is to lower taxes on our residents. Property taxes have been out of control for too long, increasing while a lot of our homes are losing value and our services are cut. This is driven by overspending politicians and governments that don't have balanced budgets. I will demand balanced budgets. Otherwise, we'll continue to see young families, a lot of our friends and family that start to move out of DuPage because it's not even affordable. We're not talking about even low income, but just middle-class families that have to move out of DuPage.
Okay, next question, and we're going to begin with candidate Eckhoff. Some areas of the county are well served by public transportation, while some areas are sorely lacking. The most recent update to the DuPage area transit plan on the DuPage County website is from 2011. What would you implement to update the transit plan and provide equity for all areas of the county?
I've been to a transit committee, and I was surprised to hear that we haven't had an updated plan since 2011, except when you think about the fact that the county board gets an annual report from the RTA, PACE, and Metra, and also from the DuPage Airport. So we are involved with the people who run the buses, the trains, build the highways, and fly the planes. And anytime we've had a resident come in and say that there's an area that they're being underserved in, or they need a bus, or they even need a special transport for a disabled person, we've worked with Metra, PACE, RTA, whoever it is, to provide that service for people. So I think one of the reasons we haven't had a plan since 2011 is because we're working good with the organizations that already exist that provide those services. We don't provide them. They listen to us, they listen to our residents, and then they provide the services that are needed. So the paratransit committee is going out of existence in December. So I don't think you're ever going to get another plan from us.
Okay, candidate Fultonevich, your thoughts on transportation in the county?
Yes, we need to take a serious look at where public transportation is needed throughout the entire county. This means going out into the community and seeing for ourselves what the county is lacking and providing adequate public transportation for all of our residents. As a police officer for over 16 years, I found the best way to do this is going to the neighborhoods, talking with residents, getting a real vibe and pulse of the community and what's needed. It's the same approach I also had as a Lombard Village trustee. On the county board, I will go out, I'll talk with the community and see how better we can serve the community with increased public transportation.
Okay, and finally, candidate Corrigan, your thoughts on this?
Well, from what I've read, the DuPage County residents are adamant about transit, right? Mobility of people. And I do know that the county board does have a public transit committee. This question was a little bit, kind of threw me a little bit because I did learn that there is, as of December 2021, the chair of the public transit committee did say that there is a new plan, an updated plan out there, but it has not been posted to the site. But the question was, what would I do to update it and to move forward on this issue? And what I would have done is, I have a few things. I would have, number one, immersed myself in, as an elected DuPage County board member, immerse myself into that committee, the public transit committee, find out what they've done and what they're doing and where they're going. Next, I would look for funding to get a plan implemented, just like they did with the long range plan for the transportation. And they got grant money funding for that plan. And I would look for funding for a plan for the transit program or system. We would also need to then gather information and data to find out where we have gaps or lack of transit in the different parts of our community. And I'll stop because I got the notice.
Okay.
But there's more to my plan.
Okay, next question, and we're going to begin with candidate Fultonevich. DuPage County received just over $161 million in federal funds through the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, which is known as the CARES Act, as well as the first installment of $89.6 million in American Rescue Plan Act, known as ARPA, and will receive a second installment of $89 million in the next 2 weeks. The DuPage County Recovery Plan 2021 public document notes several areas where the funds have been allocated, including economic development and community service. Here's the question. Have these funds met the significant needs of residents during the height of the pandemic?
Well, I would say, yes, they have, but at the same time, we shouldn't be relying on the federal government to bail us out or provide funding that should have been there, especially for like a rainy day fund. I can't speak personally at a local government level. The difficult thing for us at Lombard, we had to wait several months, and I don't want to give an exact time because I'd rather find that out what it was, but I know it was long enough for us to be concerned and worried because first the money went to Springfield, and that's always very scary. And it waited there for a long time. And then it went to DuPage County, and DuPage County held on to it when it was something that seemed like that could have just been transferred over to the local governments where they really needed it, probably more than DuPage, more than Springfield. So that was difficulty there. I think that's a part to look at is, unfortunately, if this ever happens again, that we can work better with other governments to get those the funding out there immediately instead of waiting for many months.
Okay, and candidate Corrigan, same question.
Yes, this is something I would like to know more about and do a little bit more research on, but I do think that the county did the best that they could and allocated the funds where they believed that the needs were greatest. For instance, I thought that the small business grant monies that were allocated. I think it was Reinvest DuPage. I think they got $15 million. I thought that was a great example for how funds were spent and assisted residents and business owners in our community. And then the 10 million that went to the DuPage Foundation that supported our nonprofit organizations. I thought that was another great example of how the money was dispersed appropriately. And so I do think that maybe there were some areas that it could have been done better, or other areas of need that maybe were overlooked. I'm not sure about that, but those were at least two really good examples that I thought was money well allocated. And then as far as going forward, I think that for any additional funds, we would have to go to the municipalities and get feedback from each of the municipalities to find out where is their need and where should that additional money be allocated.
Okay, and candidate Eckhoff, your thoughts on how the funds got spent?
Well, initially, when the funds were being allocated to DuPage County, they weren't allocated to municipalities and other governmental entities. And the way their law was written is if we gave it to somebody who wasn't using it properly, we were on the hook for it. So we had to have a bunch of our staff check to make sure that the proposals that were being submitted were adequate. Once we got to the point of turning it over to businesses, we used our Choose DuPage, which is a good partner with DuPage County, to take applications to make sure that the people who needed it got it, and actually followed some of the rules that have been employed regarding COVID. We also have taken applications from towns, libraries, townships, and we're evaluating those plans. And frankly, there's not a whole lot of money left, but sanitary districts I know want to get involved, and some money, and the Wheaton sanitary districts contacted me about that, and I forwarded them on the staff. So at some point we may see that done too, but at some point we're going to have to weed ourselves off of the money from the federal government.
All right, thank you. And this is a short follow-up, and I know you each alluded to this a little bit, but how should the remaining federal funds and the new ARPA funds be used to support residents and businesses of DuPage County as we achieve a new normal relative to the pandemic? And beginning with candidate Corrigan.
Yeah, you're right. I did allude to it earlier. And because I'm a trustee at the College of DuPage, and we did also receive CARES funds and other COVID-related funding for the school, I'm aware that there are constraints with that money. You just can't, as a government entity, decide where that money is going to go. You get guidelines that you need to follow as to where those monies will be spent. And within those constraints, again, I would go back to reaching out to the individual municipalities and getting feedback from them. They know their needs better than we do. And perhaps, I don't know if there could be surveys done or things, but even hearing back from the residents as to where there is need that may have been overlooked. But that is how I think it would be best spent.
Okay, and candidate Eckhoff, again, I know you started addressing this, but what do you think?
Well, just because you get money doesn't always mean you have to spend it. So we have to take a look at what the actual needs are. There was a proposal on Tuesday made to use $1 million to help assist people tap into water lines. But we figured out that the average cost was $3,000 to $5,000, so we'd only be able to help maybe 333 people. And I thought that would be a waste of money, because out of a county of 932,000 people, you're only helping 333. I didn't think that was very fair. What I would like to do is look at the sanitary district's proposals, because we can help them lower their overall cost of projects. And that would benefit hundreds of thousands of people throughout the county. And if we could do that with each sanitary district, we could benefit most of the residents of the entire county, as opposed to focusing on a very narrow group that hasn't even been means tested to figure out whether or not they need the money.
Okay, and candidate Fultonevich?
Yes, with what Grant said too, is the biggest help would probably not raising taxes. We don't absolutely need to spend it. That would be the biggest help to DuPage County residents. We do have to make sure though we have the supplies necessary in case of another emergency. there's a lot of things that went right, but there's a lot of things that went wrong. And that's where we need to be forward thinking and prepare for, unfortunately, the next disaster. And that's where we should be getting supplies, keeping enough in reserves, really looking at those things that we're not even thinking of, be forward thinking to say, these are the supplies that we're going to need in case, this happens, A, B, C. This money shouldn't be spent without serious consideration. Taxes can't be raised while we're collecting 89 million from the federal government.
Okay, next question, and we're going to begin with candidate Eckhoff. Across the country, threats against election administrators, staff, and election workers at polling locations has increased. As an elected official, how will you demonstrate support for the election workers of DuPage County?
The same way I would show support for anybody who's threatened is you need to have protection for all those people. You need protection for election workers. You need protection for judges, for elected officials. We've had people on the county board threatened. I've been threatened before. So there should be zero tolerance for any of that, for anybody who's working in any field, not just people who are working at the Board of Election. So I would sympathize with those people. I would make sure that, if we have to, you go back up the phone lines and figure out who's making the threatening calls, and you go arrest them. You put them in front of a judge and you charge them. And people need to know that we're going to do that we're going to be tough on crime, because that is a crime. And we're not going to tolerate that in DuPage County. And if they think they can get away with it, we need to set a few examples and show them that's not going to happen.
Okay, candidate Fultonevich.
Yes, as a law enforcement officer and a former election judge myself, I understand the importance of security at voting sites. There is absolute zero tolerance for fraud, election bullying, any sort of threats. And if we have evidence of an unsecure site, I will work with Sheriff Jim Medrick and our local law enforcement agencies to serve and protect the workers and the voters at all the sites throughout the county. This is too important and too vital for anything like this to happen. And this is one of the highest priorities, obviously, to a democratic society.
Okay, and candidate Corrigan.
I think DuPage County already does a really great job in communicating the fact that we will not tolerate crime in this county, both through Jim Mendrick and other local law enforcement officials, letting them know that we will arrest, we will investigate, we will prosecute, and through Bob Berlin, we will prosecute and incarcerate if necessary. So we've already started the communication process piece of this. I agree with both of the other candidates' opinions on that. We will, we would secure those officials and make people available if it was necessary and follow up if there were any threats. But what I feel good about in terms of answering this question is, I think with the communication we have going on, I think we're already out ahead of this issue. And, but if there was a need, of course, we have the resources to protect the people in those election positions, to make sure that they're secure and they're safe.
Okay, next question. And I'm going to begin with candidate Fultonevich. Do you think the county is doing enough to increase mental health care? And what would you do differently?
Well, I work with mental health every day. It's part of my career. So I was honored to be invited to NAMI, the Shine a Light Gala, this past weekend. And it is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I urge everyone to get involved, check out the NAMI DuPage website. And as a DuPage County Board member, I fully support NAMI and will be a close partner with them. I will work to prioritize victim services and mental health, because keeping the public safe isn't just about law and order. So I think we're doing a great job, but there's always more that can be done with mental health.
Okay, candidate Corrigan.
Yes, I guess because I've been outspoken about my concern about mental health, I was asked to join the board of directors for NAMI recently. And it's certainly something that, especially because of COVID, has really had the light shown on it. And we need to take this opportunity to continue to shine the light on it, to make sure that that the needs of our residents are met. We have a lot of resources in this community. When I was just looking up the different organizations, in addition to NAMI and our Department of Health, there's all these other entities out there, these nonprofit organizations. And I think that maybe we need to coordinate to get the information out to the residents that we have these resources and get them screened and get them the proper resources that they need. And it is Mental Health Month. And I'm so glad that Reed mentioned that. It's so important that we get the information to our residents, because I do believe we have good resources in our community. And it's a matter of getting those resources to the residents who need them. So.
Okay. And candidate Eckhoff.
Well, I think mental health is probably one of the crucial health issues of our generation. And I know, I'm pretty sure I know who wrote this question. And there's two townships, Bloomingdale and Milton, have established 708 boards, which empower the townships to levy an additional tax in order to provide additional mental health services. And I've been a supporter of the boards. In general, I would run the programs a little bit differently. I'd keep the townships involved, but each township right currently has their own administration. And I've told people that I think you don't need 9 people on every board in every township. That's 81 people on a board for the entire county, where I've only got 18 people on the county board to run the entire county board. I'd maybe have one person from each township. I'd have the townships pull their money for one administration, and they take the money that you saved and put it back into mental health. So my plan would address the same issues that the 708 boards are trying to do, but with actually more money.
Okay. Candidate Corrigan, next question. As of late 2021, opioid overdoses in DuPage County were up by 17%. As a member of the county board, what strategies would you support or suggest to combat this problem?
Well, I do support our sheriff's department in the education, accessibility, and awareness of the Narcan drug. It's a fast-acting treatment for preventing opioid overdosing. I think the sheriff's department and the health department both are doing a very good job at trying to get information out to the community. The sheriff should be commended on what he does for incarcerated individuals and all the programs he has to help people who are incarcerated rehabilitate. I think more of that needs to take place. I did come across another program in another jurisdiction where there is an amnesty program, and people who really have hit that wall and are ready to get clean and to rehabilitate, they can bring their drugs in, drop them off at the sheriff's department. And from there, the sheriff's department would act as a mentor or a resource to get them to the proper organizations or providers that they need for rehabilitation. So that's the goal.
Okay, candidate Eckhoff, how would you combat this problem?
Well, we've been dealing with this. The problem has existed for a long period of time. I was on the Hope Board for about 3 or 4 years. And back at the beginning of that, you couldn't call a meeting to have anyone show up because parents didn't want to admit they had a problem or their kids had a problem. Schools didn't want to admit they had a problem in their school. And Bob Berlin and the other law enforcement people would go and try and have discussions with people and no one would show up. Now you can't, I would say I've got 2 cats, but you can't swing a dead cat without hitting about a dozen people who are going to show up at these things. People are coming, they're getting educated, they're learning about what the problem is. But the additional problem of COVID, by locking people down over an extended period of time, which I think was unnecessarily done, by having borders open with fentanyl, which is a huge killer compared to the other drugs, is just a big mistake that our federal government has made. And they're not helping the problem because the supply of the drugs and the lethal nature of the drugs is making the problem worse. And they're not, and the federal government, unfortunately, is participating in that.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Fultonevich.
Yes. Well, opioid and mental health go hand in hand. So it's kind of the same question. We're dealing with a lot of the same things. And there was a lot of great strides for a while, and COVID hit. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people, a lot of society was just put on the back burner, which has just been detrimental to our society. It's clearly not working. And the sheriff's department and coroner, they've been doing a great job, but they need help. They need assistance from the DuPage County Board. And that's where I want to get involved. And while with local law enforcement, we're provided Narcan, it's really a deeper issue because we've got the training, we've got the funds, we're using Narcan. And now that the warmer weather's coming, we'll be using Narcan, unfortunately, weekly. During the winter time, maybe it's every few weeks, but we're using it every week. We're street corners where people are overdosing, people are, out there begging for money to get more drugs. And then we're out there using it. And that takes a huge toll on society. So this needs to be put back on the front burner, and we need to help people with the drug addiction and with mental health issues.
Okay. And I think we have time for 2 or 3 more questions. I'm going to begin with candidate Eckhoff. Do you feel there are units of DuPage County government that can be eliminated or consolidated? Please explain.
You get trouble with this one.
Can you repeat that? It cut out on me. I'm sorry, moderator.
Yep. The question is, do you feel there are units of DuPage County government that can be eliminated or consolidated? Please explain. And we're beginning with candidate Eckhoff.
Okay, well, Illinois got more units of government than any state in the country. And if you had Illinois over again, you never would have done it the way it's been developed over that period of time. And yes, I do think we can consolidate units of government. We've got a school district over in Winfield that's got 300 kids, 1 principal and 1 superintendent. So the overhead cost for those 300 kids is outrageous and absurd. Why they're not merged into another school district, I don't know. I started a committee about 10 years ago to consolidate fire protection districts because we've got 34 fire chiefs. And when you take out Naperville, there's about 33 chiefs for about 800,000 people. And I just don't think that you need that many chiefs. You need more Indians. And I told all the chiefs that I thought they were smart, intelligent, and hardworking, and they could all cover a district 10 times larger than what they had. But that got shot down by mayors and managers about 4 years ago after we had a plan that was ready to go in place. And the next county board, I would urge them to pick up the plan and let's put it into action because we can save our people a lot of money.
Okay, candidate Fultonevich, your thoughts on this?
Yes, well, I'm typically in favor of this, but I think of consolidating government where we can. The biggest issue, though, it has to actually be a benefit to our community. We can't just consolidate and say, look, we fixed the problem. Because if we're not going to become more efficient, if we're actually not going to save taxpayer dollars, there is no point in consolidation. So that's something that really has to be done by a case-by-case basis to see if we're going to be more efficient and we're going to save taxpayer money. Then absolutely, I'm all for it. The biggest challenge with that is everyone, I'm sure there's polling that 90% of people or whatever it may be is all for consolidation, just as long as it doesn't affect me. Because we don't want to consolidate in my own backyard. You could consolidate everywhere else. So you need people on the board that are willing to look at those tough decisions and say, okay, even though this is my own backyard and I happen to know that person, if this makes sense for us, we need to push forward.
Okay, and finally, candidate Corrigan.
Yes, I'm 100% behind the idea of consolidating where it makes sense. Sometimes, I don't think it's something we can rush into. I think there have been examples where we've consolidated and it didn't turn out to be the best situation of consolidation. So it definitely is one of those things. I love the idea that Grant started this plan or this study. It's too bad it didn't go anywhere. But especially with a board that has all the resources that, the county board has available to it, I think it's something that has to be explored and done in a way that is measured and reviewed on a regular basis. It may be a situation where you do consolidate and then it's perfectly fine to decide that didn't make sense and go back to, recreating the entity that you dispersed with. But I do think it's something that has to be studied. I'm 100% behind it. There is way too many levels of government and it's just too much. So.
Okay. And I think this will be our second to the last question. And I'm going to begin with candidate Fultonevich. Recently, the county board discussed the possibility of permitting the sale of marijuana in unincorporated areas of the county. What is your position on the placement of dispensaries on the border of local municipalities that rejected establishing dispensaries?
Yeah, well, it goes back to communication. I don't think that's, it doesn't even have to be the marijuana sales. It's anything. You should be working with the local governments and not against them. So if they were, you should have been in communication with these other local governments. And if they didn't really want this, I think that's something to look into. It's not good government. It's not neighborly to force this into a town or village that doesn't want this. I think the bigger issue is probably conducting business correctly. Not only is that a lack of communication, but I think you've probably seen it in the papers today that, you know, DuPage County missed out on $4 million in marijuana sales revenue. So, you know, just failure across the board when it comes to not being neighborly, not doing good business, and then not even conducting the marijuana sales correctly, because the people of DuPage County now can't be recovered over, you know, $4 million. So just failure across the board.
Okay, candidate Corrigan.
It's a city or town issue. If those residents have made a decision and voted and they don't want a dispensary in their town, why would we work against that? Why would we put it in an unincorporated area where the town surrounding it didn't want it? It's right. It's you're not working together on a decision like that. So I have nothing more to add. To me, it's a no-brainer.
Okay, and candidate Eckhoff.
Well, a couple of things. We've done a study at the county to determine, you know, where sales could be, and it's not like we've got hundreds of them. We've probably got maybe 30 of them. You got to keep them away from schools, and that's important. But the one thing, having lived in Wheaton as long as I did, is, you know, Wheaton was dry for a long period of time, but every time you'd go about 10 feet over the border into Glen, Ellyn or Carroll Stream or Naperville, there'd be a liquor store. And all the residents of Wheaton were losing out on that sales tax revenue because the village or the city at that time didn't want to participate in what everybody else was doing. So I think you got to consider the community that you're dealing with, but you also got to realize we're in a modern age where people jump in cars and can go, you know, pretty much wherever they need to get whatever they want. So I'm probably a little bit more open-minded about that. I just wanted to follow up on what Reed said, that the 4 million, that 3 to 4 million that's been lost in tax revenue is because our county clerk did not certify a copy of the ordinance that the county board approved back in October and failed to send it to the people in Springfield so that they would start collecting the tax dollars that were should have been collected on the sale of cannabis.
Okay.
So, absolutely. I wasn't trying to.
No, I know.
Okay, I got to stop you there. And now we're going to ask our final question, which is my favorite. And I'm going to begin with candidate Corrigan. Please tell us the main job responsibilities of a DuPage County board member.
Our main job is to make sure that this community is the best community that we can provide to our residents, so that is a desirable place to live, to work, to raise our families, to worship. That is our number one job, summed up, right? We provide services. Part of those services is protecting our residents. In the end, what our main job is to make sure that we have a wonderful place to live, that it continues to be the wonderful place to live that it was when I first came here 30 years ago. That's the role of the DuPage County Board and its members, is to make sure that we are moving in that direction.
Okay, and candidate Fultonevich.
Yes, Barb, this is probably my favorite one too, as it's the easiest question. Well, I would hope I have the honor of serving on the board. And when I'm done, I want to look back and I want my friends, family, the community to say that I helped make DuPage County a better place than I left it. I take pride in my work, and as I was told by an old timer 16 years ago when I first started, he said, listen, kid, it's an honorable career. You just got to pretend your mom is watching over your shoulder at all times whenever you put that uniform on. So that's exactly how I'm going to run county board. I'm going to pretend my mom is watching over me at all times to make sure I'm doing the right thing, the honorable thing, and that I'm taking pride in my work.
Okay, and candidate Eckhoff.
Yeah, but what they said.
I love it.
I would just,
Okay.
I mean, I would just add, it's the same thing from, I think, the first question. We're going to listen, we're going to work. The one thing that DuPage County has got as a challenge is dealing with Chicago, Cook County, that is really making problems for us in terms of public safety. 50% of the people in the county jail are from outside the county. And we're getting a lot of garbage legislation out of Springfield. The crime bill was a joke. And that's all the things Annette and Reed said are very true. And they just didn't have enough time to say that we're having problems with Cook County and Springfield unless they get their act together in a short period of time.
Okay, well, that concludes our question and answer time. And now we're going to move into closing statements. Reminder, you have 1 minute, and we're going to begin with candidate Fultonevich.
All right, well, I'll be even briefer than that. I won't need a full 1 minute. I just want to thank you all, the League of Women Voters, everyone watching, especially everyone watching till the end of this, and anyone else involved. I think it's just such an important process to get more information out there, to be seen more, for people to see the candidates, the right candidates, the people that should be serving all of us. So like I said, the more people seeing our campaign, the more support that we've received. So please check out our website, which is reidfolty.com for more information. And that's REIDFOLTY. I was smart enough not to use my whole last name. So thank you. And I look forward to seeing you out there on the campaign trail.
Yeah, but now I got the hang of it. Okay. And candidate Eckhoff, your closing statement, please.
I would just say I've got a history, as I said before, of delivering essential governmental services at a low property tax rate. I've tried to keep taxes low the entire time I've been an elected official. When I was first elected to the city council in Wheaton, you could shoot a cannon down Main Street at high noon and not hit anything. And I came in and I changed some of the laws to revitalize the downtown. And now I think it's a pretty vibrant downtown. When you raise sales tax revenue, you lower reliance on property taxes. At the county level, I've worked with the sheriff to swap out certain personnel and to bring in others. And every time about 10 to 15 people that we've done that at the courthouse, and that saves us about $100,000 to $150,000 a year. I've also worked I'm on ETSB, where we reduced the number of public PSAPs, which I can never remember the acronyms. Read, you know what it is, but public service access points. And we've saved about $9 million a year doing that. So I would just say, I think I've got a good history of success, and I would ask people to vote for me. And I think my website is electeckhoff.com, but Reed's got his memorized a lot better than I do.
Okay, thank you. And one more final statement from candidate Corrigan.
Hi, yes. Again, thank you for this opportunity. I really enjoyed, looking some of the questions that you sent out to us early to research. They were so good for me to explore and to understand more about what the county does and what we can do. What I bring to this position is, I guess, my common sense. I'm a very pragmatic person. I was raised in a very traditional household where you didn't spend money you didn't have, right? And you're nice to people. You follow the golden rules. You treat people the way you should be treated, that you want to be treated. You get along with people, you collaborate. And I would bring and a positive attitude, right? We want to get along. We want to do what's best for this community. I have a lot of friends, a lot of neighbors who have cut and run from this community because they can't afford it. They can't stay in Illinois. And I don't want to do that. I want to stay. I've drawn a line. My family's staying. I want to bring the best that I can in myself to this position to make it an affordable, livable, wonderful community. And I'd be so honored to be on the board, the DuPage County Board. Corrigan for DuPage.
Okay. And then I have been asked to make this announcement. So apparently candidate McGowan, who did intend to participate, was having trouble with her internet service tonight. And although she attempted to log in multiple times, she wasn't able to. So she will be sent the questions from this evening so that she can respond in writing in her own time. But again, I want to thank all of you for participating tonight. You can stop your video and mute your audio, and that concludes your participation. I want to thank those of you who are listening, either live or after this event. I want to thank you for attending. We appreciate your participation. For 100% nonpartisan election information, please go to the IllinoisVoterGuide.org, which is powered by the League of Women Voters of Illinois, IllinoisVoterGuide.org. And visit the local league's websites posted on your screen, where you'll also find a recording of this forum and information on future forums. Please remember to vote. It's essential to our freedom and our country. Good night, and thank you again.